mentioned the Arizona Coyotes, funny enough, as something that could be discussed. In fact, you know what? We might as well just jump into it because this is a pretty fresh story developing out here. Essentially, this team is behind on some taxes, on some tax bills, and if they're not able to pay up, they could be locked out of the Gila River Arena. I think they've been given a deadline of December 20th. The Coyotes put out a statement, which I know Craig Morgan and The Athletic, they've also been able to kind of push that out. Essentially, the Coyotes are saying that they're going to get on top of their stuff. I was wondering what insight you have on that, and I'm sure you're probably anticipating that will come up at these BOG meetings.
Yeah, this is a symptom, not maybe the whole story, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there's a lot more going on here. And let's start with just the fundamental premise. You're a small city, relatively small city of Glendale, half an hour or so from Phoenix. You have an arena that you built with your taxpayers' money. And you have a tenant in the Arizona Coyotes that if they're not there, you've got to fill those dates and somehow generate money to keep paying down this thing you've built. That's a problem, right? Especially when things are up in the air. If you're the Arizona Coyotes, you have to play 41 home games a year as stipulated under the rules of the NHL. You need a place to play those games. Ideally, you need a nice place to play those games where you can sell tickets and create revenue and make money. And if you don't play in this arena in Glendale, you've got to find somewhere else to play. And there's not a overflowing number of options. There's certainly not currently a better option that exists anywhere in metropolitan Phoenix area. So you've got a problem too. And so you have these two sides that are locked in kind of a difficult marriage right now, where I think it's in both of their best interests to find a way to continue having a relationship, because the Coyotes do, bring dates in, they bring money into the building for the city. And obviously the Coyotes themselves need somewhere to play while they're trying to sort out their own arena situation. I mean, they're working on a couple things right now, but certainly they want to build a huge arena and entertainment complex in Tempe, which is closer to downtown Phoenix. And, they've made a proposal on that, but it's kind of sitting with the Tempe City Council, and, no decisions have been reached there. And so in the short term, they've got to figure out where they're playing, right? And so, I don't know all the ins and outs of how they ended up, 1.3 million, give or take, behind on their taxes. But I would suggest to you it could be part of a larger negotiation. I mean, look, they've come out and said, too, that there's some human error involved. Someone made a mistake that led to them being behind on this. Katie Strang's probably all over this. I know she is all over this. I added that statement to her file this morning. Good. That's good. And because I'm certainly not trying to mow her lawn or question her, but I think in the big picture, this is all part of those sides figuring out how they're going to exist or not together moving forward. And, of course, I guess the great headline on the story The Athletic had is that if they didn't pay this by December 20th, well, what are they going to do about the game on December 23rd against the Lightning? I mean, this is a clear and present danger if the situation isn't remedied. But, I'm going to take the Coyotes at their word in this instance and assume they're going to pay, get all those bills squared away before the December 20th deadline. I still think that there's a bigger question here of, how they coexist. I think the most likely option or the number one idea in the Coyotes' minds is they'd like to actually play next season at Gila River Arena as well, while they continue to work towards building another rink. But, previously members of the city council there said that's not going to happen. And so it's a very interesting story. I don't remember anything quite like it actually in recent memory, my time covering the league, in that it is so up in the air. We're almost halfway through this season. We don't know where they're going to play next season, and there's a possibility they could be locked out of the arena this season. I actually believe, despite how grave these headlines are, I actually believe them that they intend to try to stay in Arizona. But whether or not they can navigate this successfully is what we have to wait and see. And as much as people say, oh, it's just the Coyotes again, just move them already. There's a pretty long track record here of them not being moved. Now, granted, there's been a track record of unstable ownership situations, questions about being moved, things that I think have hurt their brand and have hurt their ability really to get the community to believe it's their team. It's almost like you're looking over your shoulder wondering when this is all going to go down. But I still see through all this chaos a possibility that they get that project built in Tempe. I've gotten a look at sort of what they have planned there, and it's unreal. But, you can design your dream house. You can't always build it. And so let's see if they can get that done. And I actually hope for the fans there that they do. I mean, one of the best players in the NHL is Austin Matthews, and he only plays hockey because the Coyotes were there, and he was taken to a game as a kid, and he wanted to play. Otherwise he becomes a baseball player or a basketball player, which, his dad and his grandfather were at reasonably high levels of sport. And so I actually, for all the Sun Belt bashing that went on over the years, going back 20 years, say, I think it's actually proven to be a good strategy for the league. I like these markets, and I'd like to see the Coyotes get a real chance in their own market with the proper arena situation and see if they can, really plant their flag there. And honestly, I think we're going to get a Houston team one way or another. Everyone's connecting Arizona to Houston. I don't see why Houston.
That's what I was going to do.
I think it's natural, but I don't see why they couldn't be an expansion team. Everyone goes, what, are they going to have 36 teams? I was like, what's sacred about 32? What was sacred about 30? I think as long as there's a business case for it, and I'm not totally sure there is at the moment, but over time there might be. I mean, why not? You could get to a point in time where not every team plays every other NHL team. I mean, we're at the point where it's already difficult. I think if you're adding more teams, you're almost getting to where it's impossible. And I think there's lots of different creative ways the league is going to move forward. But I don't necessarily think it has to be them taking the Coyotes out of Arizona. But obviously, they got to remedy this situation.
I don't remember if I mentioned the actual number in terms of dollar figures, in terms of what the team owes in terms of unpaid state and city taxes. It's more than $1.3 million, which is a lot to people like you and me. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I know. I just was trying to remember myself. But for people like you and me, $1.3 million is a lot of money. But for an organization like any organization, $1.3 million. I mean, the Coyotes should be able to pay this, right? I don't see any reason why they can't.
Yes. I mean, look, Alex Morello, who owns a team, owns banks. He owned a big, successful pizza chain. He's got all number of businesses. Even if he doesn't have that money sitting in a checking account, he's got access to lines of credit or whatever, where that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay, at least. So that being said, I still see a scenario where the Coyotes get moved to Houston, and you're right. I think one way or another there will be hockey in Houston within the next how many years, but there will always be that faction of fans looking at the Arizona situation, just wondering, why can't we bring a team to Quebec City? Why can't the Nordiques come back from this? I was wondering if we could just kind of explain why Houston probably looks more like a viable market. I mean, we both would like Quebec City to have a team back, I'm sure, but the money just makes more sense to go to a populace that is fourth highest in terms of U.S. population, and definitely the highest ranking population in terms of U.S. cities without an NHL team.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just dollars and cents. I mean, hockey for me comes from my heart too, and so I feel for the people in Quebec City, because I know how much they love it. I was at the World Hockey Championship there years ago in 2008. I understand. I haven't been in the new arena that they built a few years ago, the Videotron Center, but I understand it's beautiful and would totally be worthy of hosting NHL games. But it's a small population. It's a small corporate environment. And, excuse me.
That's how busy CJ is, people.
Yeah. And so, look, Houston is a massive city. They have a facility where the Houston Rockets play. It seems that you could have a team there. You have potentially an interested ownership group, same group that owns the Rockets. I just think it expands this Sun Belt thing. I mean, look, the league is trying to inch closer to Mexico. There's been a lot of, I know we've mentioned this in the past, but there's a strategy there. And I just think, I got to return a text.
That's okay. Oh man, I'll say this: this is the first time that's ever happened in 23 odd episodes of the CJ show. I'm impressed. I thought this was going to happen episode 3 or 4, so I'm pretty impressed that it's only got to that point.
I try to give you my full attention, but I'm on a work trip and there's a lot going on. But
that's very fair.
I just think Houston makes a ton of sense. It's not even at this point. It almost feels like a when, not an if. And I don't know how it's all going to look. It could be expansion. I guess the reason it's I don't think that it's the ownership group in Arizona's intention whatsoever to move the team or anything like that. But I think people make the connection because their situation is just uncertain. And then you have a little bit more certainty, it would seem, in them having a team in Houston. But I don't know. The league has fought pretty hard for the Arizona market. I don't think they're just going to turn it in, even though right now it's not going so well.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see when it comes to the Arizona Coyotes. Maybe they very well will be brought up at the BOG meetings, and maybe we'll have to talk about it on Monday if there's any other developments.